Hey everybody, my next guest is a very funny comedian and entrepreneur who has been tearing it up over here in New York. Here he is, folks. Here, the one and only Sherwin XL. Sherwin, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Don. I got to give you my Sherwin XL just as a thanks for being a guest here. This is something that I'm always known for. So let me just give you the Sherwin XL intro. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and senior citizens of all ages, I am now and forever will be glorious son, the only one, the ordinary, extraordinary, the greatest, boom, boom, baby of them all, Sherwin XL. And I'm here with the one and only Don SILL in the building.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Now I feel officially official now, bro.
Officially official.
Awesome, man.
Good.
Yeah, dude. Like, so I met you recently at Christy Miller's album recording.
Yes.
Christy's awesome. How do you know Christy? And take me through a little bit of that.
From the one and only person that called her Nasty Barbie, Mr. Paul Mooney. I
Nice.
when I was going to Caroline's, actually, just to give you a history, aside from me pastime work as being a teacher, a daycare teacher, I started doing security work in the same building where Caroline's on Broadway is. And I bumped into Paul Mooney before I always heard his name, never seen his face. It was him and Adele Givens. And the night that I went, Christy was there performing with Paul, and then after seeing him perform, because the bartender told me, he's like, you ever seen Paul Mooney perform before? That's Richard Pryor's partner. And I was like, no. He's like, go watch, you'll learn something. So
Yeah.
and I did. He was great on stage. I went there for like almost damn near like what 12 years, I think. Tried to only one time that I didn't go was the night freaking Eddie Murphy went. I was pissed off. I was like, damn it. At least I got to meet Charlie though. I got to meet Charlie,
Oh, nice.
and that's how I met Christy when she was working with Paul, and we just became friends. And she is an awesome, awesome, awesome stand-up comedian.
Everybody should laugh and get over your fucking selves and cut the bullshit. Fuck the cancel shit. Just laugh at yourselves and laugh at everybody. Life is to be made fun of. You're supposed to make fun of other people. That's the beauty of this life. Laugh at yourself, laugh at everybody else, and let's have fun.
That's great. Yes, she toured around and had a really good friendship with Paul Mooney. And for anyone
Yes.
watching doesn't know who Paul Mooney is,
They've
he's
been living under a rock, man.
yeah, exactly. Been living under a rock, and he's a legendary stand-up comic. He's also was basically the voice of Richard Pryor. He wrote so much material for Richard Pryor,
Yes.
and he
Yeah.
was
And
one of
then
Richard's
on into In
confidants.
Living Color.
Yeah,
He wrote for Sanford and Son.
yeah.
Uh, he was awesome, man. And then it's funny because you see all of the individuals around in this entertainment business. It's like people think it's like, okay, you think the world is big, but it's really small. Because I bumped into people that I would like, how do you know this person? And like I just recently I bumped into a photographer, and she was like, what's your name? I was like, Sherwin X. I was like, I know you. I know you. So you're friends with so and so. I was just like, oh, okay.
Dude,
Yeah, it
networking
was
is
crazy.
clutch, man. Yeah, and so because I'm really into this, how you met Paul Mooney and then ultimately Christy Miller. So you're doing security in the same building as Caroline's, and then you see him, and how do you guys hit it off, you and Paul Mooney?
Well, when I originally saw Paul, I was doing a perimeter in the building, and Paul was sitting waiting. I think he was waiting for a check from Louis, who was one of the guys there. So he's sitting down. I think it was Greg Charles he was waiting for, one of the guys. So he's
Right, it's
sitting
way to
there.
get paid.
He's sit, yeah. So he's sitting there with his bag, just sitting there like a chameleon, like blending into the wall. And I'm just like, and I walk past, and I was like, Mr. Mooney's like, yes. And I said, oh, it's nice meeting you. I say, hey, um, and I asked him a question. He's like, so he looks at me, he goes, you a comedian? I said, yes, sir. He's like, you have any advice for me? He's like, no, just keep doing what you're doing and they'll find you. They're always looking for an entertaining Negro. And I was like, okay. And I went to shake his hand, and he was like, I don't shake hands. You give me a bounce. I don't know if you have a venereal disease in your palm. And I'm like, what is wrong with this dude? But he was the same. Yo, the same way he was on stage was the same way he was off stage. And it was just like, it's like that showed me like he wasn't a character. He was just
Right.
himself,
And
you
that's the
know?
beauty
And
of, I
then
think, all artists, great artists are always themselves,
yeah,
on and off stage.
yeah. Yeah, that's when he told me, he said, how do you like Nasty Barbie? I was like, oh, she's awesome. Which is Christy Miller.
Nasty Barbie. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what he called her. I was like, who's Nasty Barbie? He's like, oh, Christy Miller. And I was just like, and he was funny because, I used to, because, as a comedian, even though we're entertainers, sometimes we sit back and watch others and we become spectators. And I remember another great that I have to mention, I remember listening to George Carlin, and he said, in whatever you do as a comedian or whatever it is, he said, we have to look at everybody that do what we do in two ways. And that is, what was it? I don't want to make a mistake now. Yeah, he said, when we're looking at others that do what we do, we have to look at them in two ways. And that is no threat, or if they're that good, we have to up our game. Because he said when he saw Sam Kinison, that he just raised his voice. He said he didn't start yelling. He said he raised his voice a little. So that just let me know, if a comedy legend like him looked at somebody new like Sam Kinison, which Rodney Dangerfield found, that he got inspired by somebody new. So Sam kind of like breathed a little bit new life into him, and it got him excited about comedy and made him want to raise his voice. So.
And why is it silence? What is it silence they want for? I mean, after all, the man, whoever it is we're honoring, is dead. What good is silence? Guy's not going to wake up now. How about a moment of screaming? Wouldn't that be more appropriate for a dead person? Ah!
I'm big on the classic guys. Like I've listened to like something that Jerry Lewis said about when it comes down to doing what we do. He said not to listen to the naysayers and doubters and people who don't support us, because he said you have to keep those people on the outside of your perimeter, because if you don't, you become exactly what they think of you, which is nothing. And he said you can't listen to that. Yeah, so I'm over here preaching on Sunday.
Yeah, man, dude, that's strong stuff, and it's cool that you do look back to the greats for inspiration. And I don't think a lot of comics really do that anymore, or at least go back that deep. Like you're going back, you're talking Carlin, Paul Mooney,
Barry Ribs, that. Yeah, Don, I'll tell you what, Barry Ribs, which he was there that night too with Christy, because I was walking out and I hear somebody say, Sherwin at SILL, and I'm looking at, I was like, Barry, what's up, Barry? So, and he's working right now with DL Hughley. So because when I first met Barry, we were having a conversation about comedy, and he said, you're one of the only comedians that can hang with me talking about comedians of the past. Very impressive.
Right, yeah. It's true, because a lot of comics don't really, and I think one thing I always said, because like in hip hop, it's very important for artists to know their roots and to know their history. And I think that same should apply to comedians. I think comics should know the history to some degree, at least, I don't think enough know it. So it's always like refreshing. And for you actually got to rub elbows with some of the great ones, like Paul Mooney, just the fact of having.
I got to hang out with Pops Witherspoon, George Wallace, Hamburger, because being there working in that area, I got to see all these greats come through, and I got to see Charlie like get fine-tune his craft from when he first started, from the first time he got to Caroline's to the last time, because I was, like I told you, I was working when I met you, I worked with his cousin Harris Haith.
Right.
He was the author of the book Growing Up Laughing with Eddie Murphy. But before I started working with him, you meet so many fakes and frauds in this industry. So I happened to I was able to go backstage and talk to Charlie. I said, "Hey, Charlie." He's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" I'm like, you have a cousin named Harris Haith? And he's like, "Yeah, it's my cousin. What about?" I was like, I'll get ready to work with him. I was like, just making sure he's real. He's like, yeah, he's cool. So Charlie was cool. He was cool and gangster as all hell. Which I gave him some accolades in the there's a film, actually a documentary that's scheduled to be on Amazon Prime, It's called Masters of Ceremony: The Underground Innovators, which DMC is in it, from Run DMC, DJ Kool Herc, who created hip hop within the New York space, and
Right.
we have Eric Sermon from EPMD,
That's my
Geechee
boy.
Dan,
Yeah.
and yeah, and this is the last thing that one of the last things that Biz Markie did before he passed away, which I'm beyond honored to even be part of this.
Whether it's Brentwood, Patchogue, Bellport, Coram, Gordon Heights, Roosevelt, Uniondale,
Hempstead, New York.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Brentwood, but let me tell you something. There's some wild motherfuckers there.
You know, the first time I saw Charlie Murphy, he was doing a drill sergeant for this group called K9 Posse for a song called Hardcore Military. And somebody was like, "How do you know that?" He's like, "Because between hip hop and comedy and acting, I know, I pay attention."
Yeah, man.
You know?
Right on. And that's pretty cool too, that like some of these worlds do intertwine, whether it's comedy with hip hop and all that kind of stuff. And what were you doing on that for that documentary?
Talking about my love of hip hop, and talking about Charlie Murphy, and talking about, out here in Long Island.
What you going out there for so far? Ain't nobody out there. Who out there? Don't the rich people live out there only?
And also, and if you, like I told you earlier, I'm a wrestling fan, so I got to meet Randy Macho Man Savage because
Nice.
he did a hip hop album, and he's another person. I got to do his voice in front of him, and I also did it for his brother, the genius Lanny Poffo, on another show. And because like when I met Randy, the kid was doing his voice or whatever, and it was him and Crush, and I was like, the kid was like, "Oh yeah, Randy Savage," blah. And I walked up, shook his hand, and I said, I said, nice to meet you, Randy. He said, that kid did your voice pretty good, but I do it a whole lot better, yeah.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, starts laughing, he looks back at Crush, and he's like, "Get a load of this guy," and he looks at me and goes, what do you say? Yeah, he goes, I've heard a lot of people do my voice, but you got it. What's your name, man? So, oh yeah! I never used to do impersonations on stage that much, but meeting some people like Lou Ferrigno and what's the name? Adam West. It was cool meeting them, and Billy D. Williams, like those guys. Like seeing them was
Legends.
awesome, and then talking about them, because like the first one I met was it was Billy D. He had on a straw hat, Hawaiian shirt, cargo pants and sandals, and he's like, "Next." So I walk up to him, and he goes, "Thanks." He's like, "Thanks for coming. Which picture do you like?" And I'm like, "Which one do you like?" He's like, "No one's ever asked me that." And then I asked him, and he signed it. He's like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Sherwin." He's like, "Is that spelled SHERWIN?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Thanks. That'll be $20."
What picture did you pick?
My mother was so enamored with him because he was like the Denzel for black chicks back then. And she was like, "Oh, Billy D, he's so cool, Breeze." I was like, "That's the big deal about this guy." And when I met him, I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." You get hypnotized with his voice, dude. And I was just like, he's like, because I said, "Hey, thank you so much." He's like, "Yeah, have any questions?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you doing anything on TV, any movies?" He's like, "Have you seen Undercover Brother?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "I'm in that. Check it out." And I'm like, "Mommy's right. He is cool, Breeze."
And then, as he's talking, you're slowly
then,
falling in love with him.
Just like the voice, hypnotizing.
Yeah.
Here's my wallet.
Yeah. That's awesome. Which picture did he go with? Was it Orlando? Did you go with Lando Calrissian?
I think I had the one with Lando, and then I had one with Adam West. Those pictures got destroyed, man. Freaking had it got wet up. You know how it is when you're getting ready to move, and there was a flood and a freaking. I was like,
yeah, that's the worst, dude.
Lando, Yeah, but I still have my loofah ring though somewhere. That one I have, and that was the regular one when he was working out. But Adam West was cool because as a kid, I was looking at the reruns of this, and I'm just like, I'm looking at it, and he walks up. He's like, welcome, citizen. I was just like, so
You've
I'm
been-
like, in my head, I'm like, Batman. I'm like a little kid. I'm just like, he's like, which picture would you like? And I was like, which one do you like? He's like, no one's ever asked me that. It'll be this one. It makes me look distinguished. So, and then he's like, what's your name, sir? And I was like, Sherwin. He's like, just like Billy D. He's like, is that spelled SHERWIN? He's like, yes, it is, Batman. Like, thank you, Batman. He's like that'll be $20. And I was just like, thank you. And I was just like, and Frank Gorshin was there too. So
he was the Riddler, right?
I bought, yes, Frank Ocean, the Riddler, and I had to do it in front of him. I said, I had to do the impersonation of him because he was the Jim Carrey, of his time,
Right, yeah.
because he was the Riddler. So I went up to him. I said, hey Frank. He's like, how you doing? I was like, I got to do an impersonation for you, right? He's like, sure, go ahead. He's like, riddle me this. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. So and he looked at me. He's like, no, that's a fact.
That's awesome, man.
Because when you're a kid, you don't get it. It's like, what do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. I'm like, that's some vaudeville stuff.
That's some old school, yeah, but it's all joke writing. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, that's the beautiful thing about those dad jokes they call them or whatever, or those old school vaudevillian jokes, is that they're still well crafted.
Last person I got to share with you. Well, I met the young lady that played Batgirl, and I met Warwick Davis who played Willow. But I think one of the greatest people I got to meet, well, actually, it's two: Al Grandpa Lewis and Rerun from What's Happening.
Rerun, man, I would love Rerun as a kid.
Yeah, so my mom is from Trinidad and Tobago, so she didn't really know too much about Americanized vaudeville and stuff. When I was watching Sam Kinnison's Breaking the Rules, he has a set where he goes, he's like, do you promise to love, honor, and obey? He's like, yeah, I sure do. He's like, hey, this is a wedding, not a vaudeville act. Who's doing rim shots? So I'm like, what's vaudeville? So I was going out with this young lady. We were on a date, and I happened to be at Roosevelt Island, which is in between Manhattan and Queens. So I was at this restaurant called Trellis. So I go over there, and I happen to bump into Grandpa. Al Grandpa Lewis.
He was just hanging out. He was just out, yeah.
Yeah, he was hanging out. We went there to eat. He was hanging out there with his wifey. So I asked him, I said, hey Grandpa, can I ask you a question? You used to do vaudeville? He's like, yeah. And this is before you can go on the internet and stuff. So I was like, hey, I just saw a special with Sam Kinison. He said, do you know what vaudeville is? Because I told him I'm working on being a comedian. Yo, he took his cigar out of his mouth. He's like, what? You're trying to be a comedian? You don't know what vaudeville is? He's like, sit down, kid, you're in bad shape. So he starts telling me, study the Ziegfeld Follies, study the vaudeville, study the Chitlin Circuit. He said, learn about Pygmy Mark and Mons Mabley and Red Fox and Sammy Davis Jr. So he just started going in on me. He's like, this is what you need to do. So after listening to him, I stopped watching TV for a good while and I only read the newspaper and listened to the radio because that's what vaudevillians did. They didn't have internet. So I wanted to be a different type of performer. And then I was in this club called the Shadow Night Club. It's no longer around, but I was on the dance floor, the top, because they have a DJ, then they had a big dance floor area, then there's another dance floor. So I see this guy popping and locking and doing that. I was like, hey, he had no hat on. So I said, hey, you dance just like Rerun. He's like, that's because I am Rerun. I was like, you're not Rerun. He pulls the hat out, pulls the suspenders out of his pockets, puts them up, and then he starts,
Yeah, do that Rerun stuff.
Rerun. But I think he was the very first star that I ever met from TV. It's crazy, bro, because you sit down here and like you were just saying, everything's connected. Because Randy Savage did hip hop, and my favorite song from him that he did on his CD was called "Be a Man," which he was dissing Hulk Hogan, but that was the main song. But the best song for those of you out there who are wrestling fans and hip hop fans, I would suggest the best song. You can go right now on YouTube, or you can buy the album if you like hip hop. It's a song called "Remember Me," and it's a really good song.
And
Really good
that's
song.
Macho Man Savage. Remember Me?
The
All right.
Macho Man Randy Savage, #1. Yeah. Dig it.
Yeah.
Snapping through a Slim Jim. Yeah.
Another name you mentioned that in all this that has a big tie to hip hop is Pygmy. A lot of people don't realize
Yes.
he
Here
is.
comes the judge.
Yeah, here comes the judge. Might be the very first hip hop track ever.
This judge is hip, and that ain't all. He'll give you time if you're big or small. Fall in line, or this coat is neat. Peace, brother. Pick up the judge. Pick up the judge.
Yeah, and then the person that I think the person that took the torch to that was Sammy Davis Jr. when he was doing a sketch.
Yep.
He was walking out. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge with the little wig on and everything.
Yeah,
Yo,
man.
all the good stuff. Like Benny Hill and Monty Python's Flying Circus. Like my dad loved Monty Python and he loved Benny Hill, so I watched stuff like that. And of course, who in New York didn't grow up watching, for the age that we are, anybody that's over 30, we watched Laurel and Hardy, March of the Wooden Soldiers all the time.
Yeah,
we watched
all
the
that
Honeymooners, I Love Lucy, the Jeffersons, All in the Family. We had the good stuff, the funny stuff. Even though just recently Woody Harrelson and Jamie Foxx just did like a new one. They did a reboot. It's like they're great, but it's nothing like the originals, man. Like Carol O'Connor and Sherman Hemsley.
Oh yeah, dude, you can't. Nothing.
Different.
We came up in a great time, and a lot of people will say, oh, we only had 3 channels and whatever to choose from. I think that was what was better is to have less choices. Actually worked for us because we ended up learning about, like, we were watching, like you said, My Three Sons and Leave It to Be, all these shows that were like our parents' shows. We were watching them, but we learned that culture, and it all kind of added on. Like, what I'm saying, with these kids today, they don't know anything beyond like 10 years ago.
No, they don't. And I was just telling a kid the other day, I said, you have no idea some of the cereal boxes you're looking at are from Hollywood people. Like, if you know the actor named Peter Lorre, Blueberry cereal, that's his caricature. That's his eyes, the blueberry. That's him. Right. And then you have what's his name? Boris Karloff. Boris
Karloff.
Frankenberry cereal. That's him. That's like Frankenberry cereal. So that right. And then who else? Was Bela Lugosi, who was Dracula. That's Count Chocula cereal.
Yeah.
And then if you look at some of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, you have people like Humphrey Bogart. You have Abbott and Costello, and they had them as mice and they had them as cats.
Yeah.
And I used to love Costello. And then also they put in Scooby-Doo. If you look at the recent stuff with Scooby-Doo, they have wrestlers connected with Scooby-Doo. You had Batman, you had the Blue Falcon and all this other.
Yeah, they all mixed. Yeah, they all guest appeared.
All the cartoons. Yeah, so you have all these cartoons with caricatures from Hollywood, just like how they did. If you look at Johnny Bravo, who's that? He's blonde, he has shades. That's Elvis.
Yeah.
So that's Elvis. And then the scientists from in The Simpsons. Who is that? That's freaking Jerry Lewis, Nutty Professor, the original Nutty Professor.
Oh yeah.
Right. Which I don't know if you check the credits, but Jerry Lewis was involved with Eddie Murphy's Nutty Professor. If you look at the credits, that touched my heart, because I was like, oh wow, that's awesome to know that the originator was part of the remake that was just as good.
Like he gave his nod to it. He gave it that nod. Yeah, man. So now when you knowing all this knowledge of the past, of comedians, who did you model or craft your style after when you started taking the stage? Like, were you heavily influenced? Was it a lot of Mooney stuff? Was it like a lot of Carlin? Or where'd you go with that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just a vast, everybody I've watched, there's a name that you might be like, who? Like there's Danny Kaye. I love Danny Kaye. But
Yeah,
the person that made me want to the person that made me want to get up on stage was Sam Kinison. Because around the time I was going through a breakup, and when he was talking about, he's like, you're a whore, so, and Wild Thing,
Oh, Wild Thing was great, man. Yeah.
And then watching him and Rodney Dangerfield and Eddie Murphy do music before I even knew Sam did comedy. He had a song called Under My Thumb before he did Wild Thing. And he has another one called what's the other song that I love so much? And he made a song called Gonna Raise Hell. He had a song called Go to Raise Hell. And then I watched Rodney have his song Rapping Rodney, and of course Eddie Murphy party all the time. So I was like, oh, these guys are comedians and they're doing music too. So I was like, that's kind of cool. And I got into hip hop. I rhyme as well. So it's like Sam is the initial one. And then my cousin, when I was like about 12, my cousin David gave me Delirious cassette tape. So,
Game changer.
I'm a little kid. I'm a little kid going to school talking about, oh, Lord, help me, Jesus. Oh, halfway down, Lord. And goody goo goo and all that good stuff.
Ice cream.
So, yeah, ice cream. The ice cream man is coming. So everybody knows that one. And then Eddie was my first cassette. Bill Cosby himself was the first HBO special I watched. And then music-wise, and then I got into everybody else. And then it was Sam, and then Robin Harris, Robin Williams, Bernie Mac, and those are the guys that made me want to get up. And then eventually, I watched Eddie Delirious as I grew. Like, oh wow, it's like, yeah, those are the guys that like made me want to get up on stage and actually have fun and do it. And then some of the guys that I like today is like D. Ray Davis. He's funny.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Louis Black. I love Louis Black.
Great comic.
Davis. There's so many. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle. I actually got to meet Dave, and sometimes it's really nice just to meet the folks that you admire, and you're like, man, you inspire me. And then like when you do meet them, they're like real cool people. And sometimes you meet folks that are like they're mean as all hell. But I get it because there's this industry. There's some folks that make you want to not do it anymore, because you come across so many fakes.
Right. Yeah.
Bad. But I think these days, with the era of Zoom and IG and going live on Facebook and everything, and on Twitter and Snapchat, we can magnify those fakes and frauds and so they can run like roaches and go away.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you have somebody here that's talented. Be real to them. If make sure because like some folks out here, like I just recently did a special with a young lady by the name of Melissa LaQuisha Green, who was on Kevin Hart's Lift Comics. She saw me somewhere performing. As a matter of fact, I was working with a young lady by the name of Lori Francois, and I was hosting this music scenes and fun showcase, and she happened to be performing a little poetry and singing a bit, and she loved the way I was hosting, and we got together and we created this special called Love is a Battlefield comedy show, which she wanted to do in honor of Kevin Samuels, which I found that kind of like a girl wants to do. I was like, because at first when he came out, I was like, yo, stop insulting the sisters. But then as I listened to him more, and then he started talking to women, and I was like, okay, this guy's doing some really, he's doing some serious work. So it's not for the faint of heart, or if you want to do wrong to men, you just like Sam did.
Right,
just like
exactly.
Sam did. Like,
yeah.
He's like, you whore. So, and the thing about it is when I did Dangerfields, I sent my performance to Bill Kinnison, which is Sam Kinnison's brother. I said, man, I have to tell you, this was a special moment for me because, there have been many people that have stepped on that stage, but I had to send this to you. Like, I'll never meet Sam in life, but you're a connection to him that I want you to enjoy this, because I had a smile on my face, and I was a little misty eyed because, like, man, the person that inspired me to want to really get up and do this too, like, I'm here on the stage, and many others who have been here, like Eddie and that place belonged to one of the funniest people on the planet. Like, yeah, no respect.
Oh yeah, man.
So and then of course him too. He's Rodney he made a dog. He made a dog called Ronnie, and it's like
Oh yeah, the cartoon.
it's
Yeah.
it's so awesome that you can take somebody's personality and put it into a cartoon. You know, because who else on Scooby Doo that I love so much? Oh yeah, certainly. You know, Curly from the Three
Oh
Stooges.
yeah.
You know, so him and I don't know. I was a chubby kid, so I like the fat guys. Like, hey, you bad.
Hey, I'm bad.
He's like, what's wrong with you, Lou? He's like, what's wrong with you, Lou? I don't know. I'm a bad boy.
So where are you now? You're from? You grew up on Long Island? Where on the
No,
island?
I was actually born in Kings County Hospital, aka Killer County Hospital, in East New York, and I grew up mostly, you know, in the Best Side area, but East New York. I grew up mostly in Brownsville, Brooklyn, which is where Mike Tyson is from.
Nice.
I'll
Man.
bet you. So yeah, with Tyson and Montel Williams is from. I grew up on Chester Street between Blake and Dumont in Brownsville, Brooklyn. And like I said, my mother's from Trinidad and Tobago, so I went to school in Trinidad for a little bit, and I came back here to New York.
Yeah.
And right now I'm in Roosevelt, which is where Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy were from, and Howard Stern
and Public Enemy. Yeah.
Yes, and I got to work with Chuck too, which was so awesome. There's a documentary that I did with my mentor Harris Hayes. It's called Land of the Legendary Roosevelt Strong Island, and I got to work with, you know, Public Enemy #1. You know, so,
dude.
Yeah,
they're probably
the
greatest rap group of all time, I would say. Just the dynamics alone between Chuck and Flavor are insane.
911 is a joke. I can't do nothing for you, man. Flavor Flav's got problems of his
own. That's awesome, man. You sound just like him. So are you an impressionist? Do you work impressions into your act too?
I think now I'm going to, because I had a buddy of mine named Prince. He was telling me, he's like, listen, man, why aren't you doing the voices? And I had a buddy of mine. He's like, yo, Sherwin, he wanted me to do something on his rap album, but his manager didn't put it because he was actually making fun of his manager and he caught it. So he was just like, so, yo, can you do so if you could do Randy Savage, I know you can do this guy's voice. I was like, who? It was like that gay dude that was in Birdcage with Robin Williams. I was like, who? What guy? And I looked it up. He's like, Howie Fight. He's like, yeah, how can you do fight? It's like, I think I could do Howie Firestein. Yeah, you know. so I did the voice for him, and I was just like, he's like, what do you want me to do that for? He's like, it's funny, do it. so I did it. And then I actually put something on YouTube. I'm also I love cartoons. Who doesn't? You know, cause I grew up with the Banana Splits and Up and Adamant and everything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we grew up in the same.
Tex Avery all day long, man. So
we grew up in the same time period, man.
We grew up with Tom and Jerry, Mighty Mouse.
Yeah,
we had the funny stuff. But what was it? I did a video where I'm wearing the shield, you know, because we had the COVID shields, right? So I'm like, hey, that reminds me of Cobra Commander. So I was just like, I did something for my boy, Flo Boy Deuce. He has a song called "Pay for That." So I came out like, citizens of the world, this is Cobra Commander. And I'm like, usually I'm talking about G.I. Joe, but today I want to talk about someone else who's taking over the world. and then I did that.
That's awesome, man.
And you know what? I got to meet Chris Latta at Caroline's on Broadway, but this is even before I even know he did the voice of Cobra Commander. So I met the actual guy who did it. He was crazy on stage. And then lastly, one of my favorites that, you know, these kids today, these millennials, were crying about everybody to snap with Thanos. They knew what was coming. But us kids, when we saw the Transformers animated video, the movie, when we saw the Transformer animated movie, and we didn't expect Optimus Prime to die.
Yeah,
man, I was distraught, bro. It's like because I always used to be like, you know, Autobots transform and roll out, you know. So you know, and then that's Peter Cullen doing his voice. So you had an emotional connection with this guy. So you know, and when he died, I'm like, my father brought me home. I was crying my eyes out, and my mom was like, "What's wrong with him?" I was just like, hey, Rodimus Prime, a stupid hot rod. My mother's like, what is he talking about? Like, son, robot Optimus Prime taking dead. And, He started crying. He's like, it's a cartoon. No, he's running. He's Optimus Prime. Hot Rod.
Because you can get emotionally attached. Yeah.
I'm over it now because Optimus Prime came back. You man, listen. When there was a commercial for Power Master Optimus Prime, I'm in my room. I think I had just finished having dinner. TV's playing, and then I hear Power Master Optimus Prime, greatest leader of his time. Yeah, and I hear, it's great to be back. I'm like, he's alive! I'm like, yes! Yeah! Megatron, Galvatron, nothing. Optimus.
Optimus Prime. That's awesome, man.
He's like, heroes never die. I was like, he's back. It's like, yo, I said, man, these folks that did the animation, they don't know the trauma they hit you with. And then like when the G.I. Joe movie came out and you saw Duke get hit with the snake in his heart from Serpentor, I was like, no, not Duke too. And they freaking wind up killing him in the regular movies with was it Channing Tatum?
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Duke off. They killed Duke. How you gonna kill Duke, dude?
Yeah, you can't kill the coolest
Duke
character. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
That's
I was
crazy.
just like, you guys, I don't know. These guys. Now I see why some of these guys from Star Wars, the fans, make their own stuff because they weren't happy with the lady that has been having a problem with George Lucas. You know.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Favreau
yeah.
and Filoni, they're doing a great job. I'm glad they're at the helm doing what they're doing, and George Lucas is back and right in the thing. So, oh yeah, if you get a chance, I did a video where I did like oh yeah, another person I love was Phil Hartman. I did like a Phil Hartman-esque type thing where I say I do an announcer's voice, then you hear Palpatine, and then you hear me doing Darth Vader, and then I have a little hood, and I'm talking like Palpatine for a little bit. So if you go on my TikTok, I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, definitely
First.
send it to me. I'll put it into this interview. We'll pop it in like right now.
And now, here's a word from our sponsor. Lord Vader, tell them. You don't know your power until you try. So therefore, there's one thing left to do, and that is do it.
Good times. Well, dude, Sherwin, you rock, bro. This was a fun interview. This is really a blast talking to you. Tell everybody where they could find you, follow you, what you got coming up next, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, my manager, the land shark, is back there. You need to talk to him if you dare go up to him. Don't go smelling like pork or beef or chum. It's like, land shark. Yeah, basically, if anybody wants to reach me, they can hit me up on Instagram. I'm on all platforms as SHERWIN XL on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you need to call me, hey, I'm open to talk. It's 347-792-9475. I don't do this old email me and we'll talk. I don't do that.
Right on, man.
Email me. It's like, one thing I learned from my mentor, he said, be available to people that really want to work. He told me, watch out for the folks that bring the la-la, and that's it. And if I just want to drop some advice from three people, DJ Wiz, which there was a point in time when I wanted to stop. He said, don't worry about these fakes and frauds. You just keep moving forward and they'll all fall off. And then DJ Evil D from Black Moon, he said to me, which I'm going to do his voice because I love his voice. He's like, sure, there's people like you and me out here. He's like, there's people who are real. Then there's people who are standing behind us who are scheming. And behind them are people who are thinking of scheming. Then there's people behind them who are dreaming of scheming. But stay real and you'll be okay. So, and then last but not least, my mentor, Harris Haith, rest his soul, who, like I said, was the author of the book, Growing Up Laughing with Eddie Murphy. He said to me, he said, when you're feeling depressed, you're feeling like you don't want to do it anymore, he said, stop, be silent, and remember the whole reason why you started this in the first place. And look at everything that you were blessed to do into this moment. And if your answer is no, it's wrong. You're supposed to say, yes, I'm going to stay into this. And that's, don't say no. And for me, I'll tell anybody, your voice is very necessary. Don't stop. and just grow into your greatness and don't stop. And we're looking forward to having you in the rankings of entertainers out here, no matter what you do, whether it's stand-up comedy, acting, poetry, any, music, whatever genre it may be. Don't stop doing what you're doing. And hopefully you be here talking to Don one day like I am. So don't give up. Don't
Dude,
give up.
Awesome. Awesome words of advice, words of wisdom. Sherwin XL, everybody. Thank you so much, man. This was a blast.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Oh, last thing. This is the absolute last thing. The reason why I call myself Sherwin XL was basically for Malcolm X and the L from Luther and Martin Luther King, because I never met them. And that's the unknown love that I had for them. And I always wanted to be a great speaker like them. And just like the word excel, I want to excel in life. And I hope everybody that's watching this and watching Don, whether it's me or another guest that he has from here on in or past guests, don't stop. Keep doing what you're doing and excel in life. That's it.
Awesome.
Double salute.
Yes, indeed. Sherwin XL, you rock.
Yeah, Don, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, brother. Oh yes, I forgot. There's a movie that I'm casting director in called Crazy and Deranged. They can follow me on Instagram at Sherwin XL. And Master Ceremony is coming out, and that's about it. It's supposed to be on Amazon Prime's geared up to be there. Looking forward to that. And there's a song called Come Dance by Pierre Porter, which we just ripped SOBs down, and Drum NYC. So take a listen to that. Actually, when you go on my site, you'll see everybody there. And Don, my friend, I appreciate you. Thank you for this moment. It's special to me. This is the first time we met, and you invited me into your space and your platform. So I thank you, my friend.
Right on, man. Well, thank you as well. We hit it off as soon as I met you, and I knew you. I wanted to talk to you and get to know you a little bit more. And this is awesome. And I'm hoping we could do some more in the future. Either have you back on the show, man, or have you come around, and do some stuff, do some creative stuff.
You need me, or if you need any other guests, definitely, bro. It's like right now, I just met Her Royal Majesty Queen Angelique Monet of Etione State, Nigeria. Just recently, we worked with each other. I'm just finding out this lady she married the king, and I'm sitting here like, this stand-up comedy stuff and hip-hop, it takes you places. I've been sitting on Heather Hunter's bed talking about where's the weirdest places I've had sex, and I'm sitting here like, how did I get here? Oh yeah, I decided to be an entertainer, hanging out with her, just kicking back and having laughs and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, you never know where you can be once you believe in yourself. And whatever system you use, whether you believe in the Most High or you just believe in yourself or you meditate, don't stop, man. And come and see my friend Don, because he has my manager in the back, Land Shark.
There he is.
Once again, thanks, Don. I really appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.